The story begins in a place surrounded by mountains with mysterious faces imprinted, and the sky is red while there are thunders. In this place, there is a ferocious monster roaring so loud as he is fighting against our story protagonist, Kim Taehyun. Taehyun was angrily screaming while holding a dagger and bravely faced the monster. He struck it in the mouth and the monster was growling in pain. He grits his teeth while leaning on the ground, and his hand is trembling while pressing the knife to the monster's throat. After a few minutes, he finally defeated it. He stood and wiped his face, which had the blood of the monster. He was glad that he could use his own power to defeat a monster by himself. At the same time, someone called his attention by calling him an unawakened one. The man who called him was in front of him, standing above the corpses of the monsters they all killed. There are still a lot of monsters heading their way and aiming to kill them all. What are you doing? If you're apported, then you should do your job and collect the drops. The man screamed, and the man beside him added that Kim Taehyun wasn't hired just for him to fool around. Kim Taehyun was stuttering and apologized to them. The hunters then faced back to the monsters while saying that Kim Taehyun is just a useless porter. Taehyun felt insulted, but he could not do anything since those hunters were right. He was just nothing but a porter. This world changed after the Abyss was discovered. The Abyss is another dimension where monsters that only existed in fantasies actually existed. After the discovery of the Abyss, people awakened transcendental powers, and with those powers, they defeated monsters and explored the Abyss. By that, the standard of assessing someone was no longer based on personality or effort, but on their awakening rank. If their awakening rank was high, then anyone could live a guaranteed good life. However, Kim Taehyun is not one of them. He is just a porter who only carries around the cargo of the awakened, and an unawakened who has never even opened a status window at the age of 35. As long as he doesn't awaken, he will never be able to live the kinds of lives the hunters lead. At the present time, Kim Taehyun was picking up the loot just like what the hunters wanted him to do. He was about to inform the hunters that he got all the booty from his current side, but then, he was shocked to see all the hunters died. He was looking around, assuming that there were still some remains, but then, all he saw was lifeless. He was so confused thinking about what just happened. At the same time, a monster appeared, telling him that he was the last one left. This monster was so tall. It looks like a lady monster that has several arms. It had long horns and was faceless. It was heading toward Taehyun while Taehyun was running away as he was scared. While running, he was staring at the face of the monster behind him and discovered that it was an SSS-ranked monster Asmodeus. Kim Taehyun prepared his dagger while screaming in fear. The monster's arms extended and instantly cut Taehyun's arm. The dagger he was holding flew away and he fell on the ground while screaming in agony and held his cut arm. He was crying in pain and he still dared to glance at the monster. Unfortunately, the monster casts some magic power and points it to Taehyun's head. His blood was dripping from his forehead and he continuously cried while asking on his mind if this was his fate. He recalled his life from how his parents passed away in a car accident and was endlessly bullied in school. He left being ignored for his entire life for being unawakened. However, his life is going to end after only carrying around cargo, which makes him mad at himself and also for this awakening. He grits his teeth out of anger and his blood still dripping. When his blood dropped on the ground, it suddenly sparkled and all of his awakening conditions were satisfied. A silhouette appeared in front of him. There's a golden long stare and a human above it. Taehyun was confused while staring at it, but he could not see any faces and only a human form light. He glanced around him as he remembered that he had been attacked by Asmodeus just now. One thing that comes to his mind is that Asmodeus has stopped. You're focused on someone like Asmodeus stopping, the mysterious man said behind him. Taehyun was startled and immediately turned around. "You, who are you?" he asked, and this mysterious man answered that he was called as king, and that Taehyun should not worry about his identity. He sat down on his throne while proclaiming that he would bestow authority on Taehyun from now on. Listening to what he stated makes Taehyun more confused. He also looked scared and he was shocked when this mysterious man told him that it's not good to be so distrustful. "I just admired your will and tenacity and came to choose you. However, it'd be good to think that this kind of miracle won't happen again," he added. A blinding light happened while Taehyun asked him what he meant to say. The mysterious man laughed while telling him Taehyun to patiently wait for his time. He said that a day where Taehyun will understand everything shall come. Taehyun's eyes rounded the moment he saw a monster above them appeared. This monster blows a dazzling flame toward Taehyun, and after it, everything disappears. From this darkness, he heard a voice saying that Taehyun was just sleeping. Later, Taehyun realizes that his eyes are closed. He heard a few people talking, waking him up, and believed that Taehyun was just ignoring them. Taehyun slowly opened his eyes and the man greeted him and suddenly slapped his face. "Are you awake now?" the man asked, but Taehyun was puzzled. As he glanced at these men, he realized that it was Bi Hyuksu, the one who always bullied him in his high school days. He was so confused about why Hyuksu appeared in front of him now, knowing that the last place he was standing was an abyss. Hyuksu continuously slapped him, but he didn't care at all as he was trying to deduce things. He then recalled the mysterious man who told him that he was now bestowed the authority. At this point, a status window appeared. It shows his information. Kim Taehyun, 19 years of age, an F rank, with a skill pre. Upon seeing his current age, he concludes that this day was 16 years ago. He suddenly chuckled as he realized that there was a miracle happening to him now, and that is he had come back from his past. He laughed so loud which startled Hyuksu and the other men. Hyuksu deduces that Taehyun has gone crazy. Taehyun still laughed, which annoyed Hyuksu, but at this point, Taehyun had the confidence to punch Hyuksu in the face. Hyuksu vomits blood and falls to the ground. His comrades were shocked to see Taehyun dared to fight back. Taehyun smiled widely and his tears dropped while saying that he was now finally awakened. He was just standing still and wiped his tears. The bullies suddenly activate their powers while rushing to him and calling him a nobody. When the bully attacked him with a flame, he deflected it and punched the bull in the face. He then kicked the other man in the stomach, which made the man fly away. Taehyun was so emotional knowing that he did everything he could throughout his entire life as an unawakened for 35 years. From fundamental physical training to all the known information about abyss and monsters, knowledge of various skills, and even interpersonal combat skills. So he believes that there is no way that he'd lose to untrained thugs like these bullies who don't even know anything yet. The two men dashed to him once more and Taehyun hit them for the second time and knocked them out in an instant. He was satisfied after defeating these bullies, but he still admitted that he had to redo physical training. He glanced on his side the moment he heard Hyuksu talk. Hyuksu stood and he couldn't believe that Taehyun was now awakened. Because of his anger, he transformed his body into stone using his C-rank stone skin skill that strengthens the body with stones surging from the skin. He then swung his fist to punch Taehyun and Taehyun managed to dodge. Taehyun grits his teeth while dodging away, and he is startled the moment he sees a scary aura of Hyuksu jumping toward him. The ground exploded and Hyuksu was kneeling on the ground. Taehyun appeared behind him with a clenched fist, but Hyuksu was aware of it. Hyuksu immediately turned around and Taehyun ended up punching Hyuksu in the face. Taehyun was dumbfounded upon seeing his own blood splattered around. "What you doing?" Hyuksu asked. Taehyun pulled back his hand and realized that he hurt his own hand by hitting Hyuksu. Hyuksu punched him, causing him to fly away and slide on the ground. His face was full of blood, but Hyuksu was not satisfied yet. "You should have known your limits while acting up. Coming back to your senses now, are you?" Hyuksu stated while heading to Taehyun. He ironically smiled and added that Taehyun was just a lowly unawakened bastard. He continuously belittles Taehyun and believes that Taehyun will struggle around with his awakened skills. All awakened possess a skill and a rank, starting from F rank, which is almost the same as a normal human, to S rank, with those in the territory of being called monsters. The physical abilities and skills of the awakened rise exponentially. But what Taehyun possesses is a skill unknown and unheard of ever before, but of the worst rank. With these, he believes that there's no way he has a chance of winning against Bi Hyuksu, who's a C rank. At this moment, Hyuksu was shocked to see Taehyun suddenly possess a mysterious power. He slowly stood while his body was surrounded by a scary aura. For some reason, he doesn't feel like he's going to lose. Hyuksu was staring at him and was scared by the aura he possessed. By seeing these, he now confirms that Taehyun really awakened. Taehyun at the same time was staring at his own hand and concluded that this thing that happened to him now was predation. He can feel the magic move to his will. Even he himself doesn't know what is happening. One thing he was sure of was that everything would be over once he killed the caster. Hyuksu dashed to him and was about to punch him. Taehyun extended his hand to cast the skill. After casting it, Hyuksu was not able to get near him. Hyuksu was confused while Taehyun was controlling his magic. He doesn't feel pity at all as he is determined to defeat Hyuksu by his own capability. His eyes were full of anger while Hyuksu was already annoyed at him and screamed in anger. Luckily, the stone skin of Hyuksu shattered and his blood splattered when Taehyun hit him hard. The students inside the school weren't aware of what was happening. The surroundings become red because of Taehyun's magic power, but no one still notices it. The area where Taehyun was full of smoke. Taehyun was emotionless while seeing Hyuksu pass out and fall to the ground. Taehyun looked so tired. His sweat dropped from his forehead, and at the same time, he noticed the window notified that predation had been completed. As a result of preying upon a target, his rank has changed to E rank from F rank. His hands slowly became stone and the system said that he obtained a new skill, and that is the stone skin of Hyuksu. After a few seconds, the system appeared to inform him that stone skin skill had been registered. After the commotion, Taehyun went to the school link. The teacher nurse was dumbfounded seeing him bring 3 unconscious men. Taehyun greeted the lady with a slight smile on his face, but the lady screamed in confusion. In the end, Bai Hyuksu and the others were lying on the clinic bed to rest. The nurse's healing ability was used to treat Taehyun's injuries, and in addition, he chooses to lie to the nurse since the lady needs to get information on why they were hurt. Taehyun reasoned out that the 4 of them rolled down the stairs. Luckily, he managed to make the nurse process without any more questions. Now, he was fully healed and got out of the school. He feels great knowing that he awakened and got revenge on Bai Hyuksu. But then, his problem now is his predation skill. His rank, which barely managed to change after training his entire life, increased after a single fight. It may be an F rank, but the power exceeds that of a C rank. He can even steal the skills of the opponent's defeat. Up until now, he was so confused about why the guy from the abyss gave him power like this and why the guy made him regress. He had countless questions, but he knew himself that there was one thing he had to do aside from searching for an answer, and that is to find out about predation. Meanwhile, he arrived at his house and he smiled knowing that it's been a while since he came home. After his parents passed away, he stayed with his uncle. He entered inside the house while telling himself that he should search for information regarding similar skills he have since his uncle would be back late today. As he entered, he was startled when he saw people inside the house. One of them is as young as him. This man uttered his name and he recalled that this young man was a person named Hwang Yi-young, his cousin. He also noticed something. That was a box on the ground and there was money on it. He then remembers that Yeung wanted to hang out with the other bullies and took all the money in his house, then caused a huge fuss. The man together with Yeung asked about who this kid came in. Yeung was stuttering and he whispered his answer to the leader bully. Taehyun believes that the leader of these men was also Yeung's cousin. If you don't want to get beaten up, don't get involved and just pass by, the leader said. He said that they just need to take what they can use from this house and leave after. He patted Taehyun's head and called him brother unawakened. Taehyun stared at him and suddenly smiled. Perfect. I wanted to test it, Taehyun stated, which confused the man. Without explaining, Taehyun then punched the man and pushed him to the corner. The man vomits saliva unintentionally while his men are shocked to see him beaten by the person whom they thought an unawakened one. Taehyun swung his arm and the leader got scared and asked him to stop. But then, Taehyun didn't want to give any mercy. He immediately activated his predation skill and slightly smiled. Unfortunately, the system notified that his predation function was inaccessible. He was so confused as to why nothing happened while the leader of the thieves was also puzzled. After seeing his predation skill wasn't working, he started to be nervous. His sweat dropped from his forehead and he paused while his hand was still above his opponent's face. He wasn't aware that his opponent was about to hit him. He wasn't able to react, so the man indeed slapped him in the face. Taehyun fell to the ground and his opponent then stood together with his 2 comrades. They activate their skills together. A C rank bind skill, a C rank poison skill, and a C rank bleed skill. They aimed all these skills at Taehyun, who was now standing, and his eyes rounded the moment he saw all these skills. The men didn't give him any mercy and the house suddenly dazzled. A purple smoke appeared and the thief's leader uttered, "How dare an unawakened pretend to be awakened? He doesn't know his place." To his surprise, he saw the shadow of Taehyun inside the purple light, and at the same time, the system notified Taehyun that the usage of skill had been sensed. Bind, poison, bleed confirmed. The 3 skills were mixed together and the system said that due to a mysterious power, resistance was successful. It suddenly didn't work and neutralized skills as it pleased. Taehyun uttered. He was staring at his opponent and he wasn't sure at all what was happening. One thing he was sure of was that this attack from him now would be strong enough to defeat all his opponents. He strongly punched his opponent without any words, and in just one punch, the man's face bled and could not be drawn. After a few minutes, Taehyun's face was satisfied seeing these bullies lying on the floor and being knocked out by him. Fighting against them makes him learn 2 things. The status window is only visible for the awakened. It details information on the awakened, but not all of it is displayed. His current rank this time is E rank with 3 points strength, 6 points stamina, 5 points speed, 10 mana points, 71% fatigue, 10/10 magic, and has 2 skills which are predation that can prey on the desired target and use 5 mana points, and his stone skin that can strengthen his body uses 1 mana points. First, until just now, mana wasn't lacking in the slightest, yet predation didn't activate. In other words, aside from the description, factors other than mana must affect its use. Besides that, the passive effect of the predation skill isn't mentioned in the skill description. It resists and neutralizes skills related to abnormal conditions, such as poisoning or bleeding. Now, he can gradually confirm whether his speculations are correct. While he was thinking, Young suddenly bowed down in front of him. Brother, after seeing such an impressive side of you, I, Hwang Young, your cousin, am reflecting on my actions, Young stated. He asks for forgiveness from Taehyun, but Taehyun is just silent and sees him as a pathetic kid. Young was even willing to lick Taehyun's shoes or bark like a dog as long as Taehyun would forgive him. While staring at him, Taehyun knew him as a fox back then but never expected it would be this bad. Young was barking very loudly, which makes Taehyun annoyed, but it was not important to him. What mattered the most was that he knew there would be an incident that would happen today in their city. Young continuously barked like a dog and he was surprised when he heard Taehyun forgave him. In return, come with me to get something done, Taehyun said with crossed arms. At the same time in the city, the sky became darker and there was a restricted area that only authorized personnel could enter. Inside, 3 people were staring up above as they saw monsters inside a gate break. Gate break is a phenomenon where monsters appear as a path to the abyss suddenly opens up. If left unattended, a dungeon disaster will occur. According to the man in front, it has been 10 years since the last dungeon break. He also mentioned that the gate was suddenly created, which is why the monsters are swarming over. The ladies behind him were scared, thinking that the dungeon disaster was only a moment away if they didn't do anything now. They suggested letting the neighborhood area evacuate, but the man told them that there was no need. And that is because of his B rank skill barrier on their side. By this, he was confident that monsters could not attack them. He said that the rank for this gate break is only C, so he concludes that the strongest monster that comes out of the gate would be C rank. At this moment, the monsters were pushing the barrier until it shattered. The monsters were rushing like they were so hungry. The man is still explaining and the ladies warn him about the monsters behind. These monsters were not the same physically. They were in different sizes and faces. The man claims that as B rankers, they are more than capable of handling these C rank monsters. The monsters were attacking them, and at the same time, Young was heading to this area together with Taehyun. He was calling Taehyun sir, which made Taehyun annoyed. According to Taehyun, this gate break's initial main estimate is C rank. On the other hand, the control personnel are B rank, so there won't be any issues against C rank opponents. Young agreed with him, not until Taehyun said that his conclusion was only possible if the dungeon was actually a C rank dungeon. Going back to the restricted area, lots of monsters have been killed. The man was still shocked knowing that these low rank monsters pierced through his barrier. It was so strange for him, and he even concluded that the mana overflowing from these monsters might be above his rank. He was able to activate another barrier, and the monster inside of it was trying to break it again. While staring at it, they were dumbfounded as they saw a huge monster roaring so loud. This scary monster was able to break the B rank barrier, and it was growling while going towards the humans. It turned out that this monster was a rank giant ogre. The man was sweating and he was shocked to confirm that this huge monster is a higher rank than him. An explosion happened in the area, and Young at the same time asked how Taehyun knew of this. He wasn't aware that Taehyun only came back to the past and had already gone through this disaster. He was sure that far from seeing monsters, authorities didn't send an evacuation order just like what happened in the past. Since he was sure that Young wouldn't believe him, he just lied that his intuition said what would happen. At this time, the monsters were attacking the citizens. People were all scared and were running away while saying that it was a gate break. Taehyun was staring at it while Young became scared and shocked that Taehyun's prediction happened. You remember what I told you to do, right? Go on then, Taehyun said. Young was hesitant as he was worried for Taehyun. But then, Taehyun turned around while activating his stone skin and said that he would get rid of the monsters and be right behind Young. At the same time, in a tall building, there was a man at the upper floor looking at the city lights while saying that the gate break that was thought to be a C rank turned out to be an A rank. He also believes that no reinforcements are possible as others are busy in dungeon conquests and abyss exploration. Now, the only solution to this crisis is for an A rank awakened. He added, he was currently facing a man and he said that this man was their only hope and he wanted this man to help their city. The man was crying heavily. He is an A rank awakened, the so-called Blade of Lunacy, On Hyunsu. Everyone, hang in there. The hero, I, On Hyunsu, am coming. Hyunsu uttered. Hyunsu's specialty is 8th grade syndrome. At this time, Taehyun fights the monster alone. He was punching it using his stone skin. He has defeated numerous monsters and used his power to crush them. While fighting, he smiled as he finally confirmed that the cause of his predation's failure is based fatigue. His current fatigue is 52%, and if it passes 70%, his predation won't activate. Most skills are activated based on the usage of mana, but that doesn't mean they can only have to worry about mana. That is because of fatigue. It increases if they use a skill or do physical activity, and the higher it gets, the more power of the skill decreases, and the heavier the physical body gets. It's unfortunate that there's a lot to consider, but Tian found out that if he absorbs dead monsters instead, he can recover mana without the usage of mana. He was trying his skill on the monsters, and as per the system, the target's life activity has stopped, so mana will not be consumed. The system also notified that Tian had succeeded in complete predation and had recovered his mana. In addition, his rank has changed to D rank. His predation and stone skin were also now a D rank, and he deduces that the more he uses predation, the more he can grow. At this rate of growth, he can become S rank or SS rank, or might be able to become the first SSS rank. That's basically done. Should I go back to Yeong? He uttered, but then heard noises behind him. It was Hyunsu, fighting against the A-rank giant ogre. Hyunsu was using a golden sword, and he was so mad while saying that he would get payback for the souls of the people that these monsters had killed. This warrior of justice, on Hyunsu, will judge you, he screamed emotionally. Taehyun was staring at him, wondering who he was. At the same time, the monster roared with a clenched fist and was about to punch Hyunsu, but Hyunsu pointed his sword at the monster, and the monster was surrounded by a golden light. Hyunsu then ended its life and the area exploded. After easily defeating the giant ogre, Taehyun was impressed. Because of this, he believes that this man in front of him is an A-ranked awakened who single-handedly solved the gate break before Taehyun regressed. While staring at Hyunsu's face, he realizes that it is Hyunsu, the strongest awakened in his past life. Idiotic monster. He died at the hands of Justice Sword, Hyunsu uttered. Taehyun was staring at Hyunsu, wondering why he was here. He recalled that before he regressed, he knew that Hyunsu had a bloody battle with a giant ogre on the other side of the city. Citizens, I hope you'll be at peace up there, Hyunsu uttered. Taehyun was still staring at him, and he paused when he realized that Hyunsu is a skill sensed. All of a sudden, Hyunsu was struck from behind. He vomited blood while he turned his head around, and he was shocked that he got attacked by someone. I caught you, on Hyunsu, the man who stabbed him said. On the other hand, Yeong headed to the place of their school nurse, Choi Naeung. As he entered, he found the lady lying on the couch and was asleep. Yeong was here because of Taehyun's demand, but he was hesitant to follow Taehyun. He recalled how Taehyun told him a while ago that a lot of people would die later tonight. That time they were talking, Taehyun mentioned that the one who would die was their school nurse, Choi Naeung. He explained that Choi Naeung would die by focusing on relief activities rather than evacuating. He asked Yeong's help since Yeong has a sleep skill, so he wants Yeong to put the school nurse into a sleeping state and evacuate her. Taehyun also promised him that he would handle the rest as long as Yeong saved their school nurse. While Yeong was standing in front of the nurse, he was still wondering how Taehyun knew everything that would happen. He was so puzzled since he didn't get enough explanation. He then concludes that Taehyun might have awakened a skill to see the future. He really believes his conclusion, and he was impressed while thinking about it. Going back to the restricted area, Taehyun saw Hyunsu's blood splattered, but he still dared to smile, and said that something had gone seriously wrong. Who are you? Reveal your identity, Hyunsu said with anger. The man who stabbed himself chuckled, knowing that Hyunsu was still alive even after having a vital point stabbed. But then, he was already expecting it since Hyunsu is in a rank after all. This will make hunting fun, he said. He is Han Sang-do, a B-ranked villain with stealth skill. They can the awakened who commit crimes as villains. And B-ranked villain Han Sang-do of them is a homicidal maniac who, during the gate break, went around murdering for his own thrill. But Taehyun was sure that both Sang-do and Hyunsu never met before he regressed. He was staring at both men, wondering if the future had changed because of him. At this moment, Hyunsu was full of anger, knowing that the man who dared to stab him was a mere villain. He dashed towards Sang-do as he was eager to punish Sang-do with his own hands. Unfortunately, he paused as he heard a loud noise. He also shook, and even Sang-do was startled. Later they realized that the giant ogre was brought back to life and was trying to stand. The ogre roared so loud, and Hyunsu was dumbfounded seeing the ogre alive as he already killed it earlier. Sang-do at the same time ironically smiled as he was impressed with the incredible regeneration ability of the giant ogre. At this moment, the ogre punched the ground with a strong force and both men flew away. Sang-do was laughing as he planned to leave Hyunsu to this giant ogre, expecting that Hyunsu would be killed this time. He is about to leave, but he senses someone behind him. It was Taehyun, standing with his two hands in his pocket. To think we had a spectator, nice. The more prey there is, the better, Sangdo uttered. He then dashed toward Tihyun with his weapon and Tihyun panicked upon seeing Sangdo's killing intent. Sangdo was holding 2 weapons and he was too greedy to kill Tihyun. The moment he hit Tihyun's face, Tihyun was able to activate his stone skin in time. He smiled and called Sangdo a moron. He then kicked Sangdo in the face, causing Sangdo to slide backward while vomiting blood. Sangdo manages to stand still and realizes that Tihyun is also awakened. He was shocked when he heard Tihyun utter his name. Tihyun said that Sangdo is a lunatic who's going around omitting murder using the stealth skill. Great running into you, he added with a smile on his face. The battle between them has started once again and Sangdo tries to strike Tihyun's hand but it remains unharmed because of the stone skin. Sangdo swung his weapons and Tihyun always used the stone skin to block the opponent's weapons. Sangdo was slashing Tihyun and Tihyun tried multiple times to hit Sangdo but he admitted the fact that Sangdo was really hard to deal with. Sangdo moved backward while saying that Tihyun was certainly skilled enough to be confident. He also proclaimed that he never knew his blade would be useless to Tihyun. While they were busy fighting, Hyunsu was also trying his best to officially kill the giant ogre. I don't know how you know of me, but you must be thinking you have a chance of winning because my attacks aren't working on you, Sangdo stated. Tihyun was just staring at him with anger as he felt belittled. Sangdo ironically smiled and added that Tihyun should know that the world doesn't go according to his plans. At this point, Tihyun activates his stealth skill and vanishes. Tihyun was annoyed by the fact that Sangdo hit himself. He turned around and swung his arm while saying that Sangdo's attack was still useless. Sangdo appeared behind him while asking him if he was sure of his conclusion. Sangdo attacked him in the arm, and this time, Tihyun's arm was sliced and his blood splattered. He was dumbfounded upon seeing his own blood. Sangdo laughed while swinging his weapons and boasted that he had hunted a lot of guys like Tihyun, those who mistake their skills to be invincible. With your weakness exposed, you're just flustered and dying to run away, aren't you? You better understand this before you die, he said while continuously attacking Tihyun, and Tihyun still used his stone skin to block the attacks. For Sangdo, all skills have a weakness, and now he attacked Tihyun and passed by behind. Tihyun's blood dropped from his body and he was panting heavily. He was standing still and admitted to himself that he didn't know stone skin had such a flaw. Stone skin wasn't totally blocking attacks. Unbearable shock would crush the stone, and the crushed part would be replaced with the formation of a stone of remarkably lower durability. And now, Tihyun can say that Sangdo was aiming for the crushed part from the very start. However, he smiled as he was sure now that a hand-to-hand fight was still doable even against a B-ranked opponent. So his physical abilities aren't those of an average D rank after all. Should we wrap up the test now? He asked, which confused Sangdo. He then dashed towards Tihyun while saying that Tihyun had gone mad after being driven into a corner. Tihyun then said that he wanted to meet Sangdo. Sangdo just laughed at him but his eyes rounded the moment Tihyun activated his predation skill. He said that the reason why he wants to meet Sangdo is for him to take Sangdo's stealth skill. At this time, Sangdo is dumbfounded as he feels a wicked mana and he deduces that Tihyun has been hiding this skill the whole time. Nevertheless, he evilly smiled as he was confident that Tihyun could not defeat him. He activates his stealth skill and moves around while admitting that he doesn't have any idea about this skill Tihyun had. But for him, Tihyun cannot be able to hit him knowing that it's very hard to see him with his skill. Tihyun then reminded him that he had said earlier that all skill has a weakness. He realized this after devouring monsters several times. Among those monsters, countless escaped his sight, but in the end, predation gobbled up all of them. In short, wherever Sangdo hides, wherever he runs away, predation will still get him no matter what. This time, he successfully hit Sangdo's face without even staring at him. By this attack, he was able to finally defeat Sangdo. It was almost morning but Hyunsu hadn't defeated the giant ogre yet. He was lying on the ground and he was so mad while saying to himself that if Sangdo didn't get him, he should not defy death. He raised his head to stare at the ogre, but then his body was too weak to fight and he collapsed. The giant ogre roared with a clenched fist and strongly punched the ground where Hyunsu was lying. He growled angrily and removed his hand from the ground, but he was shocked upon seeing Hyunsu's body disappear. What the hell? You're totally flat on the ground, Tihyun said from behind the giant ogre. The ogre turned his head around and saw Tihyun standing behind him while carrying Hyunsu's unconscious body. No wonder, after all, it is way more comfortable, he added with a slight smile on his face. Meanwhile, the sun rises and both parents of Yeung opened the door and were worried for their son. Mon, Dad, I'm home, Yeung said while laughing. Tihyun was standing behind him. Uncle, everything's fine, right? He asked. But then, the elders were both crying and looked in pain. They said that they were just worried that both Taehyun and Yeong got by the monsters just because they came home and saw the house so messy. Yeong and Taehyun entered while Yeong lied that nothing had happened to their house. The next day, news appeared on the television to report that the gate break warning had been completely lifted. Considering the possibility of a subsequent outbreak, the government has ordered nearby schools to be closed for a week. And as news of survivors gradually comes in, the public is breathing a sigh of relief. The authorities who were confined in the hospital also heard about the news, and at the same time, Nurse Choi Naeun was surprised and reported to the police that she woke up and found herself in this evacuation center. Dear citizens, I'm not the one who took down the giant ogre. The true hero is someone else, Hyun-soo said to the media. However, as the giant ogre's corpse wasn't discovered, and the whereabouts of the villain who attacked the public are now unknown, people are concerned that the preventive measures for safety purposes may be insufficient. Taehyun was watching the news on his phone and he was glad that there was no mention of him about killing the giant ogre. He then smiled while standing in front of the dungeon entrance and said that he should now advance to the next stage. At this time, he's a D rank with 15 strength, 20 stamina, 15 speed, 40 mana points, 5% fatigue, and 40/40 magic left. He has now a total of 3 skills: Predations, Stone Skin, and Stealth. Acquiring Stealth for him was an especially great outcome. But at his present level, it's too hard for him to use all 3 skills, since recklessly wielding the skills could bottom out his mana in no time, and thereby raising his fatigue level. It could end up being a devastating move. The best preventive measures that he believes against this is none other than potions. Potions are elixirs created for various purposes such as mana or fatigue recovery. Since he knew that potions were very expensive, he didn't have any way but to hunt to earn money. And to hunt, he must have legal permission since using skills without legal permission is considered illegal. He was now inside the dungeon and saw gigantic monsters. But then, he wasn't scared as he was eager to explore undiscovered dungeons. When the monsters saw him, they were all talking like humans. And since Taehyun witnessed that these monsters were great at talking, he believes that these monsters are high in intelligence. As per Taehyun's system, these monsters are called Spider Sisters and are currently a B rank. For Taehyun, B rank isn't high enough to change his rank, and he even questioned himself if he needs to eat hundreds of Spider Sisters to gain experience points. While he was talking to himself, the spiders felt belittled and they said that Taehyun was an arrogant lowly human who didn't realize the situation he was in. The spider with pink hair suddenly blew something. It was a purple flame and attacked it to Taehyun while saying that they would eat Taehyun alive. They all guffaw as they believe that Taehyun will now become unable to move and be paralyzed. Surprisingly, Taehyun remained unharmed, and as per the system, due to a mysterious power, resistance succeeded. As I predicted, you had quite the useful skill, he uttered, which confused and trembled the Spider Sisters. They were asking for mercy from Taehyun, but Taehyun killed them all inside the dungeon. Because of it, he has succeeded in complete predation, and a new skill paralysis has been registered. At the same time, in the new South Korea Player Association, 2 guards are guarding the entrance of the hall since there is a current meeting ongoing. One of them is Go Taewook, the new South Korean Player Association HR Deputy Manager. A player is awakened and is legally permitted to use their skills for various objectives such as abyss exploration, dungeon clearing, and so on. Currently, there are 5 player centers of the new South Korean Player Associations. New South Korea's largest guilds, the 4 great guilds: the Fighters, Undivided; the Crafters, Alchemists; the Mages, Magicians; the Informants, Nightwalkers; and the authorized agency that manages the players, including the 4 great guilds, the new South Korean Player Associations. And right in front of Taewook is Yu Aeong, the guild master of the Nightwalkers, and an S-rank player. The other person with them is Ji Jinhui, the chairman of the new South Korea Player Associations and also an S-rank player. He asked if both Taewook and Aeong had discovered something. Aeong then asked if he was referring to the Malignant Guild. This guild is a criminal organization formed by the most brutal felons even among villains. The guild members wear gold rings with 3 skulls carved on them. Jinhui showed information on the recent movements of the Malignant Guild along with the list of the players they were targeting. I'm sure you didn't call me just to receive a document in person, so what is it about? Aeong asked. Jinhui laughed and answered that he wanted Aeong's opinion on something. Aeong was confused while staring at the chairman. Miss Aeong, when did you take the player test? Jinhui asked. Aeong then answered that she took it when she became of qualifying age at 19 years old. She suddenly pauses when she realizes what the chairman is thinking. Do you think a high school student could rival a monster in a fight? Jinhui asked. At the same time, Tihyun already killed lots of different monsters in the dungeon. His bag was full of monster cores and he was currently calling one of the 4 great guilds, the alchemist, over the phone. He called just to tell them that he wanted to buy some potions. After a week, the 7-day school closure order from the gate break ended. During those days, Tihyun did physical training together with his cousin. He also cleared some dungeons and went to the Alchemists Guild headquarters to do potion trading. The alchemists were shocked to see so many stones from Tihyun, and by this, the head even declared to treat Tihyun as an SVIP. These mana stones are the monster's core which can be utilized in crafting potions or equipment. Besides that, he finally became a C ranker and upgraded his strength, stamina, speed, fatigue, and magic. He also obtained the paralysis skill that can restrain the target's body. While he was inside his classroom, he's thinking that there was still a long way to go for him. Yet, he still has to go to school. While thinking, 3 of his classmates approached him as they heard a rumor about Tihyun beating up Hyuksu's lackeys. They were shocked to know that Tihyun is now awakened. However, they believe that Kim Tihyun is now in big trouble. While talking, 3 men were heading to their room. Tihyun noticed them, and the moment they entered, they even dared to break chairs inside. These men were staring mad at Tihyun. The leader sat down in front of Tihyun and put his foot on the table. Tihyun was just staring at them and he knew that this man would not let things slide. Been a while, old friend, the man said. He is an S-rank awakened, Lee Youngyi, the 3rd generation keyball of the Teeson Group, the conglomerate that sponsors Teeson High School, the boss of all the Teeson High's bullies, as well as the main culprit who ordered Hyuksu to harass Tihyun for being unawakened. Someone like you, friend, cut the crap and back off, Tihyun said. Youngyi's subordinates were shocked to see Tihyun dare to say words against their boss Youngyi. But then, Youngyi punched his own subordinate in the face and told him that he was so disrespectful for talking while he was talking with Tihyun. He glanced back to Tihyun and said that he understood Tihyun was in high spirits after defeating Bai Hyuksu. He smiled and stood with a scary aura while adding that Tihyun should be more careful picking who to act up in front of him. Tihyun smiled as this was the first is witnessed in an amazing aura from an S-rank awakened. You better listen while I'm being nice, Youngyi said. This time, Tihyun was preparing his hands to activate his predation skill, and he was thinking about how Youngyi would face his predation skill. All of a sudden, a lady with blue hair came and asked Youngyi to stop bullying Tihyun. She activates her magic power and while staring at her, Tihyun knows that she's Lai Ah-hyung. Kim Tihyun, you as well, enough of this, Ah-hyung added. Tihyun smiled knowing that Ah-hyung was the class president, a rich family's young lady, Yu Ah-hyung's half-sister, S-rank awakened, the model student, and the prospective first ranker next term. A noblesse oblige, and a future SS rank player. She has countless nicknames and is expected to earn even more such nicknames. The problem is that she's uncompromising and simply won't back down. The lady faced Youngyi with a clenched fist and Youngyi laughed and asked her what she meant. Stop. Someone might think I'm doing something. We're just friends having a chat, he stated. Friends? What about how you just punched him in the face? Ah-hyung answered. Youngyi then told her to watch herself. The lady forced them to leave and she warned Youngyi that she was going to use force if Youngyi and his comrades won't leave on their own. Quit it and get lost, she calmly said. Tihyun was staring at them both and saw their powerful aura. For him, these powerful awakened should stop as he believes that the whole classroom will be a total mess at this rate. Youngyi and Ah-hyung were staring at each other's eyes. Youngyi then walked away and decided to stop bullying Tihyun because of Ah-hyung. He also lied that he had no intention of fighting the lady in this school. He suddenly casts a flame and glanced back to the lady. As he was about to attack the lady, they all heard a sound from the school speaker. There was an announcement from the school's broadcasting club. It is said that a special lecture will be organized by the Players Association in the main hall, so all students are expected to assemble in the main hall immediately. It was announced twice and Youngyi became interested in it. He stared at Ah-hyung's eyes and Ah-hyung was also staring at him. Youngyi smiled and walked away while saying that Ah-hyung was just lucky this time. The lady still activates her power just in case that Youngyi will do a surprise attack. After Youngyi left the room, she asked if Tihyun was fine. She also told Tihyun that there was no need to thank her. But then, when she turned around, Tihyun disappeared. She wasn't aware that Tihyun was already at the door. What are you doing standing there? Didn't you hear the announcement to assemble in the main hall? Tihyun said. He also informed that lady that he would be going first by himself. Ah-hyung was so confused and wondered if Tihyun always acted like this. In the main hall, students were already inside and they were all clueless about the special lecture by the Player Association. They were all staring at the people on the stage and saw Taewook introduce himself. According to Taewook, they came for two reasons. One is to apologize for the Player Association's lack of response to the gate break and to provide safety training. And the second reason is to inform the students of the changes to the player tryouts for those of them in whose hands lies the future of their new South Korea Player Association. While he was speaking, Yoongi was still thinking about Taehyun as he was annoyed by the fact that Taehyun was saved by Ah-hyung. At the same time, Ah-hyung was also thinking about Taehyun and she was planning to talk to Taehyun after the lecture. While both of them are thinking about Taehyun is just yawning in the hall, and he wasn't bothered at all by the two. On the other hand, the students were all wondering about the player tryouts that Taewook mentioned. They were all clueless about what these tryouts did that had to do with them. In addition, they knew that one of the qualifications was 19 years old, and some of them were below 19, so they believed that they could not participate either. You may have thought that, but of course, we're here to inform you because it is related to you now, Taewook answered as he overheard what the students murmuring. As per Taewook, due to the recent gate break outbreak and the steep rise in the number of monsters and dungeons, the Players Association has recognized that they are understaffed. Therefore, starting from these tryouts, they will be allowing nominations even for high school students. Some students were disappointed upon hearing it, while Taehyun smiled while listening to Taewook state that nominees from each school will be selected based on a combination of factors such as ability assessment scores, academic record, and behavior. Taehyun believes that these were all lies. He knows that these tryouts will indeed be open to high school students, but the selection process is already underway. That is through Go Taewook's skill. Has the Observer Eye skill and is currently activating it. This skill is able to quantify the sum total of the subject's abilities. Upon focusing, it even allows the user to view the stat window's information of the target. While observing the students, he smiled as he found out that the numbers here were far better than in the other locations, and he believes that these students will make great players. But the most shocking for him among all of the students are both Lee Yoongi with a score of 1,924 and Lim Ah-hyung with a score of 2,335. Nightwalkers did send him a list of recommended candidates, but he can't believe there are so many untrained awakened. He grits his teeth and plans to write up recommendations as soon as he gets back. At this moment, Yoongi raised his arm, which confused Taewook, but then he still let Yoongi speak. You said you'd inform us about the player tryouts, but aren't some candidates here unfit for you to do that? Yoongi said. He means that play tryouts are meant to assess people suitable to be players among the awakened. In other words, he doesn't believe a mere unawakened person needs to hear this lecture. The unawakened person he was referring to was none other than Taehyun, who was just standing on the other side. As per Yoongi, strength is not all that makes a player. Whether it's the rank of awakening, the ability to handle different situations, or vast knowledge about the abyss. To become a player, a number of complex skills must be assessed. But for Yoongi, in the end, all those complexities originate from the awakened. For an unawakened, this is nothing but salt in the wounds, isn't it? He added while staring at Taehyun. Taehyun was staring at Yoongi with annoyance, thinking that Yoongi was willing to go this far to confirm whether he had awakened. Yoongi ironically smiled, and he wants Taehyun to prove himself that he really is awakened. At the same time, Ah-hyung was calling his name as she was annoyed that Yoongi was trying to bully Taehyun again. What are you doing? Did I ask for your help? Taehyun said, and this was not Ah-hyung's expectation of Taehyun's reaction, so she turned her head and decided not to care about Taehyun at all. I understand what you're saying. It's up to the student to decide if or not they want to attend the lecture. Taewook answered. Kim Taehyun, how are you not humiliated? Not like you can get nominated as an unawakened, or you don't care about the player tryouts, Yoongi said to tease Taehyun. Taehyun remained silent, but deep down inside him, he disagreed with Yoongi. Certainly, without proving himself as awakened, he can't even get a peek at the player tryouts. But to get recommended, he doesn't necessarily have to show that himself. At this moment, Taewook was staring at the three, and for him, Yoongi was so pathetic for bullying others despite that he's an S-rank player. He glanced at Taehyun, thinking that Taehyun was unawakened with unknown latent rank as per the student department. For him, Taehyun is a pitiful existence in the midst of awakening. He tried to check Taehyun's information, but information could not be verified. He was so puzzled why for all of the students, only Taehyun's information couldn't be verified. At this point, Taehyun spoke, saying that Yoongi was right. He admitted that he was too thoughtless. What use would it be for a lowly unawakened to attend such a lecture? It'd only hurt their pride. He added. Yoongi was confused about what he was trying to say. He then smiled and declared that he will get out himself in this hall and will never attend the player tryouts. As he was leaving, he raised his middle finger to Yoongi while telling everyone to stay locked up in this hall and attend their oh-so-great lecture. Yoongi ironically smiled, but deep inside of him, he was so annoyed seeing this kind of behavior from Taehyun. Up until this point, Taewook was still speechless after he discovered that his observer's eye didn't work on Taehyun, knowing that even with the chairman and UIL, this had never happened. Yet it didn't work for a kid like Taehyun, whom they called unawakened. Taehyun continuously walked away with both his hands in his pocket while Taewook still tried his observation eyes numerous times, but the same thing happened. Not until Taehyun glanced at him with a smile on his face while showing his powerful aura. Through this, his observation eyes finally worked on Taehyun, and he was shocked after he discovered that Taehyun's overall score was 5096. After a few hours, Taehyun was still at the library. He was reading a lot of books, but he was disturbed upon seeing shadows of 3 men on the floor. I figured I'd spend the rest of the day looking for clues about the king. Well, not like I'll find something here anyway, he uttered. The man in the middle informs him that Yoongi is looking for him, so they come to bring Taehyun with them. Taehyun slightly smiled and said that he would not come with these men. The man in the middle mentioned that Taehyun's aunt runs a restaurant. Taehyun was shocked upon hearing it, and he asked what they meant to say. Yoongi wanted me to tell you this, you're a pathetic orphan. Do you want to give your aunt a hard time when she's already struggling? The man stated. He possessed his power while saying that the 3 of them would still drag Taehyun to Yoongi either way. But then, before they could get Taehyun, the library was suddenly destroyed because Taehyun started hitting them. The books were scattered around and the man was coughing while spitting blood. Taehyun also strangled him and lifted him up while his men were unconscious and now lying on the ground. Don't make me ask you twice. Where that bastard, Lee Yoongi? Taehyun asked. After a while, Taehyun went to the area where Yoongi waited for him. He bravely faced Yoongi, and Yoongi was together with his bodyguard. His bodyguard activates a power, but then he notices something strange. He is in a rank player, Seol Hundo. He said that after Taehyun came, he has been casting a couple of status effect skills, but it isn't working at all. With such great resistance, he concludes that Taehyun probably in a rank awakened. Upon hearing it, Yoongi was not frightened, and he was glad that he now confirmed that Taehyun had really awakened. In that case, shall we have a chat with our friend here? He added, but Taehyun remained silent. As per Yoongi, his words may have been crude, but he has no intention of hurting Taehyun. What he wants is to scout him. According to him, he's going to form a guild after he graduates as the heir to the Taeson group, and he claimed that a genius like him can't do anything on his own. You get what I meant? He asked, but Taehyun still didn't respond. Yoongi went directly to the point. He said that he wants human talent, not some bum like Bai Hyuksu, but real talented people. He pointed his finger at Taehyun and declared that the talented person he was referring to was the current Kim Taehyun. He guffaws while asking Taehyun to forget his old grudges and come work for him. If Taehyun would, he would not only give wealth and honor to Taehyun, but would also make sure to get Taehyun's family out of their poor lives. This time, Taehyun cut Yoongi's words. He possessed his stone skin skill while saying that Yoongi had crossed the line. Yoongi was speechless while staring at Taehyun's scary aura. He then downed his head and suddenly possessed his power while saying that dogs have to be trained. He cast his room skill on the ground, a binding skill that envelops a space in magic. Outsiders can't detect the magic inside. The barrier was covered in the hall, and as per Hundo, with this skill, no one outside will find out about his master's fight against Taehyun. Now, let's enjoy the scene, shall we? He uttered while staring at both Taehyun and Yoongi starting the match. They were punching against each other using their skills. The moment their fists collide, a strong force is made. Taehyun was struggling, and when they let go of each fist, Yoongi swung his leg and hit Taehyun. Taehyun fell to the ground and vomited lots of blood. Yoongi at the same time laughed at him and asked if he now finally see where he stood. A flame was already powerful, and seeing these makes Hundo feel sorry for Taehyun's situation. He believes that Taehyun is probably a high-grade body-strengthening skill user and in a rank awakened. With combat skills and mental power he wouldn't expect from a student, he concludes that it's hard for Taehyun to find a reasonable opponent. He was focusing on the match and witnessed how Taehyun struggled to fight with his master Yoongi. Knowing that Yoongi is the epitome of intelligence S-rank, he was sure that Kim Taehyun has no chance of winning. As he was staring at the match, he wanted to advise Taehyun to just give up and better learn his place. All of a sudden, he noticed something that surprised him. While Yoongi was punching Taehyun, Taehyun managed to block and punch back. In the end, he was able to punch Yoongi's face using his stone skin, and Yoongi fell on the ground. Hondo was dumbfounded knowing that Yoongi was overpowered in a close combat fight but now was almost defeated by Taehyun. Damn it, Kim Taehyun, you bastard. What the hell did you do? Yoongi screamed. He is also rattled when he feels that he cannot move his body. Hondo was staring at him and he couldn't believe that Yoongi couldn't really move. Now, he can say that Taehyun's skill wasn't only body strengthening. While staring at Taehyun, he was wondering what Taehyun did to his young master. Taehyun at the same time smiled as he was glad to see that his paralysis skill worked. Taehyun acquired a total of 3 skills through predation. First is the stone skin he got from Hyuksu, the second skill is the stealth he got from Sangdo, and the newest skill that he just used against Yoongi, the paralysis. Taehyun didn't utilize all of his skills from the start, though. C-rank paralysis can't easily piece through S-rank resistance, and stealth immediately disarms far-reaching fire attacks. Predatio is a last resort and shouldn't be used lightly, so Taehyun's objective was accumulation of paralysis in close combat. Status effect skills have a great effect when dealt in direct blows rather than from a distance. So with damage dealt by continuous blows of paralysis, even with the high S-rank resistance, he has failed at resisting paralysis. He was standing still in front of Yoongi while Hondo was jaw-dropping while staring at him and claimed that Taehyun was indeed a genius for surpassing Yoongi in a head-on battle. Yoongi was still paralyzed. He started to speak and said that he admitted the fact that he underestimated Taehyun too much. He was holding a stone and crushed it to pieces. Taehyun was staring at it in confusion as he was clueless about this stone. After crushing a stone, a flaming gigantic skeleton appeared. By this time, Yoongi was able to stand and said that he shall now fight Taehyun seriously as well. This skeleton swung its fist and was about to punch Taehyun. Taehyun immediately ran away as fast as he could. He then jumped above while clenching his fist and he was staring angrily at the flaming skeleton, planning to punch it. But then, the skeleton blows a flame and Taehyun ends up hitting it. His stone skin was in flame and suddenly shattered to pieces. It exploded and Taehyun flew away and slammed on the ground. Hondo witnessed what just happened and he said that this skill of Yoongi is called Flame Heart S-rank, which he believes is the true form of Yoongi's skill. According to him, it would usually be difficult to draw out Yoongi's true powers at S-rank. However, just now, Yoongi used a mana exemplifying stone, created by refining the mana stone, which is the monster's core. It temporarily amplifies the mana. With that stone, the present Yoongi can also draw out his true S-rank powers. But seeing this power makes Hondo panicked as he knows that this will have consequences. Yawn Master, you gotta stop now. Are you planning to kill him? He said. He also reminded Yoongi that this magic power Yoongi was using was still too much for him to handle. In addition, he knew that the blood vessels in Yoongi's body might burst from the surge of magic. While he was talking, Yoongi suddenly aimed at him with a flame-like spear. The area where he stood exploded, but lucky for him he was able to jump away. Shut up. How dare a lowly bodyguard like you order me around? Yoongi angrily said. He said that he didn't want to let Taehyun go as he felt humiliated. Taehyun at the same time was coughing and slowly stood. He was staring at Yoongi and he felt that Yoongi was now at his full power. The flaming skeleton attacked Taehyun again and Yoongi guffawed as he was expecting Taehyun to die from his hands. His guard Hondo senses that Jangdi is not on his mind right now and he is afraid that Yoongi can't hold these consequences. At this time, he went to the area where Taehyun was dropped and he was trying to wake Taehyun up. He suggested that Taehyun give up the fight and just run away. I'll stop the young master somehow, so quickly ran, he said while trying to pull Taehyun out. Unfortunately, Yoongi sees him and instantly punches his face, causing Hondo to fly away. Luckily, Taehyun managed to stand. Run away. What are you yapping about after picking a fight yourself? He uttered. While walking, he also admitted that an S rank is truly different. Since Taehyun had lots of elixirs, he used some to restore his fatigue, stamina, and mana. From now on, I'm also going to be serious about this, he added while possessing his predation skill and was surrounded by a scary aura. At the South Korea Player Association, Taewook came back and reported himself to the chairman. After knowing that there were students with 1,900 and 2,300 scores, he was surprised as he couldn't believe it. Taewook then said that he wasn't lying at all. The ladies inside also checked the information of both players and didn't doubt why both were an S rank awakened. That's already at the level of an A rank player. At this rate, isn't he at the level of Japan's Saintess? The other lady uttered. They were also laughing while saying that they are now finally getting a Saintess rank player in New South Korea. Taewook was just silent while listening to them. The Saintess that the ladies mentioned is one of the leading players in Japan. A monster whose stats surpassed 2,500 scores already at the first inspection at the age of 19. Even in the case of that monster, she barely surpassed the 2,500 score. And Tiwook wondered about what on earth is the deal with Taehyun's stats. He was thinking that it might be a simple hallucination or a skill error. He comes out from the chairman's room and he decides to check it himself. Going back to the battle between Taehyun and Yoongi, Hundo was dumbfounded after seeing a scary aura of Taehyun. He was staring up above and he couldn't believe how Taehyun managed to almost defeat Yoongi's monster. The flaming skeleton was screaming in agony, and at the same time, Yoongi couldn't believe what was happening. How am I being overpowered by a scumbag like Kim Taehyun? I'm the heir of the Taeson group. I'm an S ranker, he angrily said. He screamed his name, but in the end, his flaming skeleton was burned by his own flame because of Taehyun's predation skill. No matter whose heir or what rank you have, what the hell does it matter? Taehyun said. He ironically smiled while his eyes were blazing. Yoongi was staring up above and he was startled to see someone's face. He then heard Taehyun declare that he had the king's power. Sharp edges heading towards Yoongi. He panicked and tried to get away, but he could not move his body. In the end, he was hit by Taehyun's predation skill. The peaceful school becomes loud the moment the hall explodes after defeating Yoongi. The gym was destroyed and the surroundings were flaming. Yoongi was knocked out and was lying on the ground. His guard Hundo was trembling and nervous while staring at Taehyun standing in front of him. Well, this is a surprise, Taehyun uttered. He was staring at Hundo and he knew that Hundo dragged Lee Yoongi out in the middle of predation taking effect, which he didn't expect to happen. Fortunately, it doesn't matter to him at all since he has already acquired the skill. What do you plan on doing now? The young master is the heir of the Taeson. How are Young going to deal with the aftermath? Hundo asked. Look at you. Who's the one that picked the fight? Aren't you acting shameless? Also, do I look like I'd cower from a threat like that? Taehyun answered. He also told Hundo not to worry as he didn't have any plans of killing Yoongi. In return for not killing Yoongi even if he can, he wants to get a reward. Hondo was confused, so Taehyun reminded him that Yoongi was the heir of the Taeson group after all. He slightly smiled and declared that he should get at least 1 billion won for not killing Lee Yoongi. After the explosion happened, everyone came out of their rooms and gathered outside. Students felt nervous thinking that they were being attacked by some villain or a monster. But then, Ah-hyung wouldn't believe their conclusion as she didn't doubt the feel of the magic and the fierce flames belonging to Lee Yoongi's power. She wondered who the one that Yoongi was fighting with, but it recalled in her mind that Yoongi was bullying Taehyun so much. She imagines that Yoongi was attacking Taehyun with his flame while Taehyun was screaming for help. The teacher asked them all to just stay and wait for further instruction. But then, Ah-hyung suddenly ran without asking for permission. The teacher was calling her name, but she didn't listen at all as she was worried for Taehyung. While running, she told herself that she shouldn't have been a simple bystander in the gym just now. She was blaming herself while thinking that Taehyun was now in danger. Taehyun, please, I beg you, make it out alive, she uttered while running as fast as she could. But then, when she arrived, she saw Yoongi lying on the ground and was unconscious while bleeding. She also witnessed Taehyun still fine and alive. You came right on time. I just happened to need a witness, someone to help move him, Taehyun said. Ah-hyung was stuttering as she was surprised at what she saw. She couldn't believe that Taehyun was able to defeat Yoongi. Taehyun instructed her to take Yoongi to the nurse's office, or rather to the hospital. But then, the lady was hesitant to follow since she wanted to know what exactly happened. She grabbed Yoongi's body while waiting for Taehyun's answer. But then, Taehyun said that Yoongi must have fallen down the stairs to be knocked out like this. Ah-hyung didn't want to believe it since Yoongi looked like in severe pain. While she was staring at Yoongi, she heard Taehyun casually say that what happened to Yoongi had nothing to do with him, so he wanted Ah-hyung to handle it herself. And he doesn't want Ah-hyung to go around saying she saw Taehyung here. He then left while the lady asked her to explain properly, so at least she really had an idea what exactly happened. But then, Taehyun didn't bother to come back and explain everything to her. She was surprised after witnessing how Taehyun vanished in an instant. Taehyun teleported far away from the school, but he was still able to see the smoke from afar. Great. Lim Ah-hyung will handle Lee Yoongi somehow. The Taeson group took action on their part too, so I guess it's settled now, he uttered. He checked his status window, and how now a C-rank player with another new C-rank skill, the Monarch's Heart. It boosts party members' stats and costs 10 mana points. He also gained 5 points charm, and he concludes that it is an appearance stat for celebrities. Because of this charm, he was wondering how he got it after preying on Lee Yoongi. Also, he confirms that the skill he got from Yoongi isn't the Flame Heart skill, but the Monarch's Heart. He could not believe that Yoongi had a skill like this, and he smiled as he was more satisfied that he got this skill instead. Skills that affect the entire party are rare, regardless of rank. As someone like him who will be using multiple skills, the monarch's heart, which allows any skill whatsoever to be combined, is way better. He was so amazed that he got this skill. He walked and was startled when he saw cars flashing him and stopped in front of him. His eyes rounded and he was wondering about who these people were. Finally found you, Kim Taehyun, the man said while walking towards Taehyun. As expected, he's Taewook. He said that he had a lot of questions for Taehyun and would start with the most important one. Taehyun was staring at him in confusion as he couldn't think of any reason why Taewook had come to him right now. What did you do in the gym earlier today? Taewook asked with a powerful aura. On the other hand, Hundo arrives at the Lee mansion and reports to the family head about what happened to Young-yi. Young-yi was holding a glass of wine while saying that his one and only son was in the hospital, and as if that wasn't enough, Taehyun asked for 1,000,000,000 won for his son's life. In addition, he believes that Taehyun wants the whole matter dealt with quietly, which annoys him. While he was talking, his ferocious dogs were so loud, barking together. Hundo was kneeling on the ground while his body was shaking in fear. He apologizes to Young-yi's father and says that he doesn't have anything to say. To his surprise, Young-yi's father told him to do what Taehyun wanted. He's quite the gutsy guy. Interesting, the Lee family head said and chuckled. He pointed his finger at Hundo and told Hundo that there must be a worthy reward for the price they paid. Hundo was terrified upon seeing people in front of him, and he knew that the Lee family head wanted to kill Taehyun. The opponent is still a young kid. That'd be far too cruel. He screamed, "Enough. I will not tolerate a barking dog." The Lee family head answered with a scary aura. He's Lee Young-soo, an S-rank player and the president of the Taeson group. Going back to Taehyun, he was just silent while thinking if Taewook was referring to the explosion that happened in the gym or about the incident in the lecture hall. At the rank of the association's deputy manager, the chances of Taewook meddling himself over a fire are small, but he thinks that Taewook might appear in front of him knowing that he was behind the explosion. He smiled as he decided to test Taewook instead of telling the truth. "By the gym, do you mean the explosion?" he asked. But then, Taewook doesn't have any idea that there's an explosion happening at the school gymnasium. He glanced at the smoke and told Taehyun not to worry as he was sure that other agencies would take care of the fire. He glanced back at Taehyun and stated that Taehyun hadn't given him an answer yet. This time, Taehyun confirmed that Taewook was not referring to the explosion. Taewook asked the same question one more time, and Taehyun smiled and asked, "Don't you know already? You must have come here to give me an invitation to the player tryouts." Taewook laughed and asked him what grounds would he say it. Taehyun suddenly activated his power and asked if this was already enough. Since he has activated his power, Taewook has seen his points again, which is 5,214 at this moment. Taewook and his people were dumbfounded to witness Taehyun's power. Taewook couldn't believe that Taehyun was now stronger than earlier. In addition, he confirmed that the numbers he saw at the gym earlier weren't a coincidence or an error after all. He was staring at Kim Taehyun and he was interested to know about Taehyun's real identity. "By the way, what on earth happened to your clothes?" he asked, which made Taehyun stuttered. After Taehyun went home, he told Yeung about the player tryouts, and Yeung could not believe that Taehyun would dare to join this competition. Taehyun was currently doing physical training and informed Yeung that the tryout would be in a month. Yeung was jaw-dropping and suddenly bowed down in front of his cousin Taehyun. As expected of the King God General Emperor Admiral Yi-sun Sin Majesty, the great Kim Taehyun Hyungnam, he uttered. Taehyun was thinking about the Taeson group, which he believed would be the one to take good care of the gym matter, and that would decrease Go Taewook's suspicions. Since the tryouts are in a month later, he decided to focus solely on training. He thought that he would not face any problems, not until someone called him over the phone. That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you wish to have another part of this recap, please give us at least 2,000 likes. Please don't forget to comment and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Until next time.